No, I think 90% of his brain cells were fried. Can you imagine 107-degree fever for 3 days? That's that kills most every brain cell that he had. So I think today his body's operating on a different capacity. not pretty much, as I said, the logical egoic structure was pretty much shattered and could never ever be recovered, which was kind of the point. So the body survived. One of the things that was necessary in Louis's humiliation was he had this idea that he would, because he was on this path to becoming this holy man. This is again his egoic misunderstanding, that because he was on this path to becoming a holy man, he thought that he would have this experience. He just envisioned this experience where he would meet this holy man, this sadhu, on the street, and they would have this just nonverbal connection that would be like an affirmation. Yes, yes, you are the one. So the way it actually happened was the day the fever broke. Trish brought in a bunch of these tiny bananas and a bottle of orange soda, one of the few things that might be safe enough to drink. And Louis had been watching this little troop of monkeys playing across the street. And that morning, as he was eating a banana, getting his strength to mobilize and get up to Rishikesh to do a real, longer recovery, Louis noticed two monkeys scooting across a wire above, and then they came down this pole or whatever and ended up right in the balcony in front of Louis' hotel room. And like I said, these cheap hotel rooms, they don't have doors. They just have open spaces or windows, open spaces. So the monkeys were right there, and they spotted the bananas, of course. They probably spotted them from across the street. Bananas sitting on the bed. One of them ran into the room, stole the bananas, took them outside. The two of them shared the bananas, and the one of them turned around and just laid up a huge shit right in front of Louis' door. So there was this holy man experience. You think you're so special? Well, here, enjoy my shit. It took Louis a few months after the trip to kind of put those pieces together, but he had to laugh eventually at his foolishness. So the trip was pretty much ruined. It took 10 days in Rishikesh for Louis to recover enough to feel ready to get out of India, go back home. He was certainly not going to Gangotri, certainly not going to Kathmandu. All he wanted to do was get back to the USA. And, there would be a little more insult added to injury. It wasn't easy once you get back to New Delhi to get a change of flight and get back to USA. They had like this lottery process where they would draw numbers each day. I think they were somehow allowing 5 people each day to change their ticket. So Louis had to wait. I think it took 5 days going to this travel office, going through the lottery. Finally, he got his ticket. During this time now back in New Delhi, and he had basically told Trish to fuck off. And, he was appreciative of her willingness to nurse him through his deathbed vigil. But all protocols, all social graces, everything had pretty much left him, and he just said, I got to get out of here. I'm going alone. So he abandoned her and went down in New Delhi while he was waiting for his flight. He just got this more expensive, a $10 room that actually had air conditioning. And Louis just put a blanket in the window to block out the little bit of any light that would come in. And he basically just was in bed except for going out once a day to get some food. he was just in bed in the dark all day. He just wanted nothing more to do with India. When he was on the flight, Louis watching the show, the airplane, as it's tracking through the sky. Once it leaves like India airspace, and later to fly through France and then through Chicago. And I think when Louis landed in Chicago, he started to cry, just being so happy to be back in the USA, being back home. It was really like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. He just wanted to get home to Kansas. And literally, the trip devastated him so much that he was more than happy to move in with this woman he had met, Suzanne, into her home in Plymouth, Minnesota, suburban Minnesota outside of Minneapolis. Just like, I just never want to leave my backyard ever again. So the trip did two things. It shattered any semblance of an egoic structure ever again. And it made Louis understand the necessity of grounding, of, now to heal from this physical devastation. I mean, he had a huge infection in his sinuses and lungs. In fact, it wasn't until he got back to the USA that it sort of flared up. He was feeling better, but there was a infection in the sinuses that he woke up one morning a couple of days after getting back, and he had this like massive like growth coming out of his nose, and he looked like Elephant Man, kind of like. But he actually felt fine. He was going to go to a garage sale across the street, and Suzanne said to him, "Are you kidding? Look at your face." It was hideous. They had to go to the clinic and get medication to take care of this infection. Excuse me. So this was the end of this, any possibility that Louis was going to continue with this fabrication, that, I'm going to be this special person. I'm going to be this holy man. I'm going to be this guru. Everything now would start from a different ground base. It's like Louis simply wanted to feel at home in the world. Again, he had been in a place so strange, so foreign, so out of his comfort zone that he just literally wanted to plant a garden. He wanted to become a gardener, and that's actually what he did. He started this little garden landscape business. He just wanted to be connected to the earth. This was like a basic survival. He was back, to ground zero, basic survival. So it was necessary, obviously. It was all constructed to some degree, overseen by myself, Sun King, for Louis's benefit, for my benefit, really, eventually. Again, I'm grooming him to be this perfect, empty vessel through which I can conduct my mission of service. So, it was the perfect thing. And there would be, Louis would never leave the United States for 18 years. He just really hunkered down. It was like 13 years with Suzanne, and that'll be the next story. But it was, so pretty much the end of Louis. Okay, Louis, the person, his body survived, but his person really didn't survive. There wasn't really any egoic structure left. So now I had a very workable, malleable device, communication device, okay? Using the body, appreciating, again, he was going to get very focused on basic things, growing food, touching the earth, being involved, with the elements. Again, this rebirthing had been taking several phases. This was sort of, I guess, the last phase, this 13, 14-year process in Minnesota with Suzanne and getting involved with the men, the new warriors. That's, again, part of the next talk together will be sort of an exploration of how one who fully has moved through the West, the journey through the West, the dark night of the soul, fully moved through that, and now entering the North, the kingdom of the king, queen archetype. How is it? How is it? Again, Louis would learn the value of being truly the servant king, not the high and mighty king, the servant king. Okay, like servant first. It's a big thing. It's a beautiful thing. Again, painful in a way to watch someone struggle so intently, but in the end, breaking, it's like it's just what it is. So I think that's good for today. We'll let it go, and we'll pick it up the next today. Sun King sends a blessing. Gratitude to all of you on your path.